Welcome to another video of Horror Hunter. Today I decided to do more openings in English as well. I hope you enjoy it. Today's video will be about the SAR officer encounters. This will be the second part. There are 6 more to go. I hope you guys get spooked. Enjoy. So, I walked back onto night and was blown away by the staggering amounts of interest this seems to have gathered. First off, I'll address a few things that you guys have brought up. There's been an overwhelming amount of people mentioning the similarities between some of my stories and those of David's poets. I assure you, I'm not trying to rip him off in any way. I've got nothing but respect for the guy. He's actually what inspired me to write this, because I can verify a lot of the things that he talks about. We do have a lot of these strange missing persons cases, and most of them they aren't solved. Either that, or we find them in places that they have no business in being. I personally haven't been on many coasts, but I'll share a few I've seen, and a story of my friends that he told me that relates to this. This is Horror Hunter, and I hope you enjoy. There was a lot of feedback about the stairs, so I'll touch on them briefly here. I'll also include a story. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes, styles, and conditions. Some are pretty dilapidated, just ruins, but others are like brand new. I saw one set looked like they came out of a White House. They were metal and spiral, almost old-fashioned. The stairs don't go up infinitely, or further than I can see, but some sets are taller than others. Like I said before, just imagine the stairs in your house, as if someone cut and pasted them in the middle of nowhere. I don't have any pictures. It's never really occurred to me to try again after the first time, and I don't really feel like risking my job over it. I'll try again in the future, but I can't really promise anything. A few people expressed confusion about the guy who ran into the man with no face. Just to clarify, when the climber ascended and reached the top of the peak, I saw another man in the park in ski pants. This was the man with no face. Sorry about the confusing wording of the story. I'll try to avoid that in the future. Alright, on to the new stories. As far as for the missing persons go, I'd say about half the cows I get related to that. The others are rescue cows, people who fall down cliffs and hurt themselves, get injured by fire. You wouldn't believe how often this happens, mostly drunk kids. Get bitten or stung by animals, insects. We're a tight team, and we have veterans who are excellent at finding signs of lost people. That's what makes the cases where we never find any trace of them frustrating. One in particular was upsetting for all of us, because we did find a trace of them, but it just led to more questions than answers. An older man had been hiking alone and established a trail, but his wife called to say that he hadn't come back home when he should have. Apparently, he had a history of seizures, and she was worried that he hadn't taken the medication and suffered that on the trial. Before you ask, yes, I have no idea why he told it. At this point, it really doesn't matter. Someone is missing, and it's my job to find them. We went on a standard search formation, and it wasn't long before our vets found signs that the guy had gone off the trial. We grouped up call cones over the radio telling us to all head back to the vet's location. We can right away, because this usually means the missing person is injured, and we need a full team to help him get out safely. We meet back up, and the villager's standing at the base of the tree with his hands on the sides of his head. Ask me, buddy, what's going on? And he points up to the branches of the tree. I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing. For there was a walking stick dangling from a branch at least 30 feet off the ground. The little sharp thing on the handle has been looped around the branch, and it's just hanging there. There's no way the guy could have tossed up that far. And we don't see any other signs that he's still in the area. We go up into the tree, but it's obviously no one's in it. We're all just sort of left scratching our heads. We kept searching for the guy, but we never find him. We even bring our canoes out, but they lose the scent long before the tree. Eventually, the search is cut off because there are other calls we have to attend. And past a certain point, there's not much we can do. The guy's wife called us every day for months, asking us if we found her husband. It was heartbreaking to hear her get more and more hopeless each time. I'm not sure why this cow in particular was so upsetting, but I think it was just the sheer improbability that and the question that was forever raised. How the hell did this guy's cane ended up there? Did someone kill him and toss that up there's some weird trophy? We did our best to find him, but it was almost like a taunt. We still talk about that one from time to time. Missing kids are most of the heartbreaking stories. Doesn't matter what circumstances they go missing under. It's never easy, and we always treat the ones found decased. It's not common, but it does happen. David Paules talks a lot about kids SR teams finding places they shouldn't be, or couldn't be. I can honestly say I've heard about this kind of thing happening more than I've seen it. But I'll share one of the ones that I think a lot that I witnessed personally. A mother and her 3 kids were out for a picnic in an area of the park that has a small lake. One is 6, one is 5, and the other kid is 3. She's watching them all really closely, and according to her, she never lets stuff up and stuff. She never lets them out of her sight at any time. She never saw anyone else in the area, which is important. She parks their stuff up, and they start to head back to the parking area. Now, this lake is only about 2 miles in the woods, and it's on a very clear, established trail. It's almost impossible to get lost from the parking area to it, unless you're deliberately going off the path like an imbecile. Her kids are walking in front of her when she hears what sounds like someone coming up from the path behind her. She turns around, and in the 4 or so seconds she is not looking, her 5-year-old son vanishes. She figures he'd step off the trail to pee or something, and she asks her other 2 where he went. They both tell her that the big man with a scary face came out of the woods next to them, took the kid's hands, and led him into the trees. The 2 remaining kids seem upset. In fact, says later that it seems like they've been drugged. They're sort of spacey and fuzzy, so of course she freaks out. Starts looking frantically in the area for her kids. She's screaming his name, and she says at one point she thinks she heard him answer her. Now, obviously, she can't go blindly running into the woods. She'd got the other 2 kids, so she calls the police, and they send us immediately. Respond when we start to search for him. Over the course of this search, which spans miles. We never found a single trace of the kids. Canines can't pick up any scent. We don't find any clothing or broken bushes or literally anything that would significantly child being there. Of course, there's suspicions about the mother for a while, but it's pretty clear that she's completely destroyed by the whole thing. We don't find any clothes. We don't. Yeah. We looked for the kid for weeks with a lot of volunteer help, but eventually the search peters out, and we have to move on. The volunteers kept searching though, and one day we get a call on the radio letting us know that the body has been found and it needs to be recovered. They tell us the location, and one of us can believe it. We figure it has to be a different kid, but we go out there about 15 miles from the site where he'd vanished, and sure enough, we find the body of the kid we've been looking for. I have been trying to figure how this kid got where he did ever since we found him, and I've never come up with an answer. Now, here comes the scary part. A volunteer just happened to be in the area, and because he figured out he might as well look up in places no one else would think to on the off chances the body had been dumped. He comes to the base of a tall rocky slope, and halfway up he sees something. He looks through the binoculars, and sure enough, it's the body of the little boy, stuffed a little opening in the rock. He recognizes the color of the kid's shirt, so he knows right away it's the missing boy. That's when he calls it in, and we're dispatched. It took us almost an hour to get his body down, and none of us could believe what we were seeing. Not only was it 15 miles from where he started, there was no possible way he could have gotten up there on his own. This slope is treacherous, and it's hard even for us with our climbing gear. A 5-year-old boy had no way of getting up there, of that I'm certain. Not only that, but the kid doesn't have a scratch on him. His shoes are gone, but his feet aren't damaged or dirty. So it wasn't as if animals dragged him up there, and from what we can tell, he hasn't been dead that long. He'd been out there over a month by that point, and looked like he'd only been dead for, at most, a day or two. The whole thing was unbelievably strange, and was one of the most disconcerting calls I've been on. We found out later that the coroner determined the kid had died from exposure. He'd frozen to death, probably late at night, 2 days before we found him. There was no suspect. No answer. To date, it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. One of my first jobs as a trainee was to search up for a 5-year-old kid that had gotten separated from his mom. This was one of those cases where we knew that we were gonna find him because the dogs were on a strong scent trail. We saw clear signs that he was in the area. We ended up finding him in a berry patch about half away from where he'd been last seen. Kid wasn't even aware that he'd wandered that far. One of the vets brought him back, which I was glad for because I'm really not good with kids. And I found it hard to talk to them and keep them company. As my trainee and I are headed back, she decides to take me on a detour and to show me the hotspots where we tend to find missing people. It's a natural dip in the land near popular trail, and people usually move downhill because it's easier. We hike out there, it's a few miles away, and we get there in about an hour or so. I was here walking around the area, and she's pointing out places she found people in the past. I see something in the distance. Now, this area is about 8 miles from the main parking area, Though there's back roads you can take to get closer if you don't want to hike that far. But when you're on a state protected land, which means there can't be any kind of commercial or residential development on there, the most you ever see is a fire tower or makeshift shelter that homeless people think they can get away with building. But I can see, excuse me, but I can see from here that whatever the thing has straight edges, and if there's one thing you learn quickly, it's that nature really doesn't make straight lines. I point it out, but she doesn't say anything. She just thinks back and lets me wander over and check it out. I get within a point. Sorry guys, my throat is kinda fucked up. I get within a point of 20 feet of it, and all the hair on the back of my neck stands up. It's a staircase in the middle of the fucking woods. It's proper context, and it's really literally be the most benign thing ever. It's just a normal staircase with a beach carpet and about 10 steps tall. But instead of being in a house, where it obviously should be, it's out here, in the middle of the woods. The sides aren't carpeted, obviously, and I can see the woods it's made out of. It's almost like a video game glitch where the house has fell to a wall completely, and the stairs are the only thing visible. I stand there, and it's like my brain is working overtime and try to make sense of what I'm seeing. My trainer comes and stands next to me, and she just stands there casually, looking at it as if it's the least interesting thing in the world. I ask her what the fuck this is doing here, and she just chuckles. Get used to it, rookie. You're gonna see a lot of them. I start to move closer, but she grabs my arm hard. I wouldn't do that, she says. Her voice is casual, but her grip is tight, and I just stand there, looking at her. You gonna see them all the time? But don't go near them? Don't touch them? Don't go up them? Just ignore them? I start to ask her about it, but something in the way she's looking at me tells me that it's best if I don't. We end up moving on, and the subject doesn't come up again for the rest of my training. She was right though. I'd say about every 5th cow I go on, I end up running across a set of stairs. Sometimes they're relatively close to the point, maybe within 2 or 3 miles. Sometimes they're 20 or 30 miles, or literally in the middle of nowhere. I only find them during broadcast searches or training weekends. They're usually in good condition, but sometimes it looks like they've been out there for miles. All the different kinds of sizes. The biggest I've ever saw looked like it came out of a turn off of the Century Mansion. And was at least 10 feet tall, with steps leading up at least 15 or 20 feet. I've tried talking about it with people, but they just give me the same response as my trainer did. It's normal, don't worry about it. They're not that big of a deal. But don't go close to them or up to them. When trainers ask me about it, I give them the same response. I don't really know what else to tell them, really hoping someday I'll get a better answer. This is another one that was less spooky and more sad. A young man went missing late in winter, when realistically no one should be going that far out on the trails. We close a lot of them, but some remain open year round, unless there's shitload of snow. We did an open for him, but we had about 6 feet of snow on the ground. It was an unusually heavy snow year, and we knew it wasn't likely that we'd find him until spring, when the thaw came. Sure enough, when the first big thaw came, Akaku reported a body a little ways off the main trail. We found him at the base of the tree in a pile of melted snow. I knew right away what happened, and it scared the living shit out of me. Most of you who ski or snowboard or spend any amount of time in a mountain will probably have guessed so. When snow falls, it doesn't collect the stick and the areas beneath the branches. It happens most with fir trees because they have sort of closed umbrella shape. So what you end up is a space around the base of the tree that's filled with mixture of loose, powdery snow air and branches. They're called tree wells, and they're not immediately obvious if you don't know what you're looking for. We put a sign in the welcome center, big ones, letting people know how dangerous they are. But every year we get an unusual amount of snow. At least one person doesn't read them or doesn't take the warning seriously, and you find them about in the spring. My best guess is that this young man was hiking and got tired, or maybe a camp from walking in the deep in the snow. He went to go sit. Uh, at the base of the tree, not knowing there was a tree wall, and he fell. He got stuck with his feet up, and the surrounding snow caved in around him. Unable to free himself, he suffocated. It's called snow immersion suffocation, and it doesn't usually happen except in really deep snow. But if you don't get stuck in a weird position like this guy did, even 6 feet of snow can delete him. What scared me the most was imagining how he murders off struggled upside down in the freezing cold. He didn't die quickly. The snow would have formed a dense heavy pall on top of him, and it would have been literally impossible to get out. As it got harder to breathe, he would have known what was happening. I can't even imagine what he was thinking in his last moments. A lot of my less outdoorsy friends want to know if I've ever seen a goldman while being out in cows. Fortunately, or I guess fortunately, I've never had anything quite like that happen. I guess the closest was the whole black-eyed man thing, but I didn't see anything. However, this one cow where I had something kind of similar happen, but I'm not sure. I'm willing to chalk it up to the goldman. We'd gotten a report that an older woman had fainted along one of the trails and needed assistance getting back down to the main area. We hike up to where she sat, and her husband is just beside himself. He runs, well, I guess more jokes to us, and tells us that she passed away on the trial. We had her back on the backboard, and as we're getting her down to the welcome center, she comes to and starts screaming again. I calm her down and ask her what happened. I can't remember verbally what she said, but essentially what happened was that she'd been waiting for her husband when she started hearing this really strange sound. She said it sounded like sort of a cat, but it was somehow, and she couldn't quite figure out why. She went a little ahead to try and hear it better, and it sounded like it was coming closer. She said the closer it got, the more uneasy she was, until she finally figured out that it was wrong. I do remember the next part because it was so weird. I don't think if I could forget it if I tried. It wasn't a cat. It wasn't a man saying the word meow over and over, just meow, 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 but it wasn't a man. It could have been, but because I've never heard a man make his voice buzz like that, I thought I thought hearing Kate was going out, but it wasn't adjusted and it sounded all buzzy. It was awful. He was coming closer, but I couldn't see him, and the closer he got, the more scared I was. And one thing I remember was a shape coming out of the trees. I guess that's when I fainted. Now obviously I'm a little perplexed, so as to why a guy would be out in the freaking woods chanting meow, meow at people. So once about a mile or more, when I went and I head back off to the trial to see if I can figure out where she saw him coming from. It's almost sunset by this point, and I don't think I have any desire to be out there alone. So just sort of write it off as a distance call. I stop and I call out for anyone immediately in the area to identify themselves. The sound didn't come closer or get louder, but it sounded exactly like a man saying meow, meow, meow. In this really odd monotone. As comical as it makes it sound, it was almost like the guy on South Park with the electricals. Net. I go off the trail in the direction I think it's coming from, but I never seem to get closer. It's almost like it's coming from all directions. Eventually, it just sort of fades out, and I ended up going back to the welcome center. I didn't get any further reports like that. Even told I went back to the area and never heard the exact same sound again. I suppose it could have been a stupid kid out there fucking with people, but even I have to admit, it was weird. So this kind of turns into a massive old text, and I apologize for it. I wanted to get the story out, but because my friend told me, and he does have some good ones too, so post those tomorrow evening. I also have a few more of my own. I think you guys will like it. I'm sorry to keep it all in suspense, guys. Hopefully the stories here make up for it and help you get through the next 24 hours until I can post again. Edit. Since it seems like a lot of you would like to hear more tomorrow, write something. I write as many stories as I can and do a massive post. I include my friends' stories and see if I can get a hold of a few more people who might have interesting things to talk about. I just want sure people that felt a big, huge wow of thanks. If you're okay with it, I'll post lots of stories. This has been Horror Hunter, and even though I'm a newbie at making horror stories, I hope you enjoy it. See you in the next time. And don't remember to